Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Suzanne Dibble here, data protection law expert, coming to you raw and uncut from the top of the Marina Bay Sands Hotel in Singapore. I know you can't see me, but hopefully you can hear me. And we're on the 57th floor here. So I wanted to do this video just to change the locations up a bit. But what I wanted to talk about today is following up on an interview that I did for photographers. And that is in relation to whether you can take photographs in public places or big events, whether you need to get consent, what GDPR is going to do to impact that, etc. Now, yes, photographs are now classed as personal data. And yes, obviously taking photographs and storing them and processing them, etc., is processing according to GDPR. But do remember that consent is just one lawful ground of processing. Okay, so there's a few things at play here. One is GDPR, and the other is general privacy laws about taking, just privacy laws that have existed for many years about taking photographs in public. And as long as you are not, the photographs aren't going to cause individuals any distress, they're not taken out of context, then generally, if you're taking photos of people in public, you'll be okay. It's not illegal to take photos of people in the public without their consent. And there are a few places where it is illegal to take photographs, and that's things like Downing Street and places like that. And I'll post, I think there is about 4 or 5 places where you're legally not allowed to take photos, and I'll post those in the comments to this video. But otherwise, if you're taking photos of the public and it's just a general photo and it's not going to cause the individual any distress, then generally you're okay to take that photo without consent. That's the current position, okay, without the impact of GDPR. Now, with GDPR, you have to look at what is your lawful ground of processing, and legitimate interest is a ground of processing where it exists in its own right, but certainly it's one to look at where getting consent is going to be impractical. Now, if you carry out your legitimate interest assessment form and work through that, I'm pretty sure you'll come to the conclusion that photographing people at events will fall under the grounds of legitimate interests. Now, saying that, I've said it many times before, legitimate interest is a very grey area. So if you can get consent and it's something where it's not completely adverse to your interest, if they withdraw consent, then look at using consent as a ground, okay, because it just puts it beyond doubt then. So if you are at an event and it is possible to, even if it's not possible to ask individually, but you do it on an opt-out basis, in terms of you will have posters around the event saying, if you don't wish to be photographed, then let us know and we'll make sure that you're not in any of the photos. Or you announce, if it's like at a wedding, and you announce it beforehand and say, please make yourself known if you don't want to be photographed, then that is in my view the best course of action. You're not going to get any trouble from doing that. But on the strict interpretation of GDPR, it is very difficult to say for sure, because legitimate interest is such a grey area. But it is a balancing test. It's about your legitimate interests. And if you are a photographer who goes to, say, sporting events or something like that, and that is your business, then it is clearly within your legitimate interest to carry on with taking those photographs. Now, that is balanced with looking at the rights and the impact that your processing of that data will have on the rights and freedoms of individuals. Now, are the people you're taking photographs at sporting events going to have any impact on their rights and freedoms? Probably not. They're probably going to be quite chuffed that they appear in one of your photos. Okay, if they're looking happy and normal and smiling, they're going to be chuffed. If they are maybe in a passionate embrace with somebody, and that somebody that they're in the passionate embrace with is not their husband, they might not be quite so pleased. So obviously you need to use your discretion when you are taking photographs in the public. And of course, if somebody is a celebrity and you're taking photos of them in compromising positions, then that is arguably under GDPR it's an impact on their rights and freedom and would have to be balanced carefully. Okay, but part of the balancing test for legitimate interest is would those people reasonably be expecting that processing of that data to be taking place in those circumstances? And in my view, if somebody goes to a sporting event where there has historically been photographs taken and they know that those photographs are going to be published, then yes, that is within their reasonable expectations that you will continue to take photographs. Please remember that GDPR is not out to get us. It's not out to get small businesses. It's out to get the big guys that do big things with data and don't care about protecting our personal data. It's not here to shut down your photography business that takes photos of horse riding events or whatever it might be. Okay, so do carry out your legitimate interest assessment. You can find the assessment form in my GDPR pack. But I would, certainly me being a fairly proactive risk taker, if it was my risk to take and I was taking photographs at horse riding events or large sporting events, I would be fairly confident in relying on legitimate interest to continue taking those photographs, as long as you're sensible and as long as you are using those photographs of people smiling happily, having a good time at the event, and and you're not doing anything controversial. Then I would be happy to rely on that. Saying that, do think about the fact that, and I'm sure you do this anyway because this isn't new with GDPR, if you are at a venue, then obviously need to make sure that the venue is going to permit you to take the photographs in the first place, and I'm sure you do that anyway. And if you can get consent, or at least opt-out consent, then just do that anyway, regardless of what GDPR says. It just makes sense. The whole thrust of GDPR is to be upfront about things. And you're going to get less complaints if you've told people that that's what you're doing and they've chosen to opt out for whatever reason. Okay, so please don't. I know it's the guidance on photography is very limited, but in my view, from everything that I have read, all the guidance notes, it's really not here to get you. Okay, so this slight technical non-compliance is not going to get you into any trouble. If you're sensible, if you're using photographs of they're happy and smiling, enjoying themselves, chances are they're going to be chuffed about it rather than anything else, and there will be no issue. If there was an issue, I think that you would have a good grounds for relying on legitimate interest. But as I say, do carry out the legitimate interest assessment. Can't get my teeth in. Legitimate interest assessment form that's in my pack and document it. And that's the key thing here with GDPR and particularly legitimate interest. Document your decision-making process so that if there is a complaint and there is an investigation, you can at least back up your decision-making process with some written materials at the time that you actually made that decision. Okay, so I hope you can hear me because it's rather loud here, but I did want to, it's getting late now and I obviously committed to do a video a day. It's my beloved's birthday today, a big birthday, so I've been out celebrating all day, but I wanted to squeeze this in while he's enjoying another cocktail with his brother. So I hope that helps those of you photographers who are worried about this. I repeat, GDPR is not out to get us, okay? It's to get the bad guys. The fines are there for the bad guys, okay? It's to make us all focus on what we do with our data. If you're being sensible and you are, having respect for your data subjects, you'll be absolutely fine, okay? I will catch you tomorrow.